Hello, and welcome to Scoutcast, brought to you by Fantasy Football Scout. And as always, you're joined by me, Andy, FPL Mode, and we are also joined by the other Red Arrow amigos, Nacho and Hibbo. Nacho, I'm going to go straight to you tonight because I don't want to focus on me too much tonight because I might end up crying. So, Nacho, how's it going this week, my man?
Well, mate, I said this pre-stream. If you're relying on me for emotional support, then we are in trouble because we're in freefall right now. I think it was about a month ago we were talking about how we were the pod holding all this community together with all our ranks. We were the kind of mainstay. And look at us right now. 3 red arrows. I talk about how I always want 3 green arrows to make me happy. Well, you can only imagine how I'm feeling right now with 3 reds. But as always, we're going to look on the bright side and we're going to try and help all the lovely people tuning in and try and resurrect our season somehow.
Exactly. That's what we want. A bit of positivity. And whenever we talk about positivity, there's always one Irishman we think of. Hibbo, how's it going, my man?
It's going okay. This is the last leg, really, of the kind of festive slog, and I think we've got these midweek fixtures, obviously, with a fixture round tomorrow, and then we've got a bit of a gap, which is almost like a kind of semi-winter break. But look, I'm feeling okay despite the red arrow, and I think Nacho's right. I think now's the time to be kind of level-headed. People are kind of tilting a wee bit. FPL's been difficult for some people over the last while, and I think it's important if we just kind of refocus, regroup, and just go again, because there's nothing else you can do apart from quitting the game. So I think we have to keep going here.
What does that word tilt mean? Never heard of that word before. Never heard of that word before. Right, tonight then, without any further ado, we're going to be looking at our points. Obviously, there's been 2 game weeks since the last time we streamed, so to be honest, it's all a bit of a blur now, a horrible blur, but we will talk about roughly how we've done over the last 2 weeks and where we're sitting now. We're going to be looking at the XGI tables, the CBIT tables. We're going to be looking at the predictions and the goal predictions for this game week. We're also going to be looking at the fixtures, attack and defence. We've got the com teams. One's done very well, one's not done so well. Still both done much better than somebody on this pod. Then we're going to be looking at the bus teams and the Q&A at the end as well. So, J77 Lag, by the way, is in the chat saying, nice formation flying with those red arrows. Thank you very much. We do try. So let's have a look at the points this week. So there were some unbelievable scores this week. I saw people getting hundreds. I saw people getting 90s. Absolutely amazing. I got 35 points this week. Raya in goal with 1 point. Dorgu with 1 point. Keane with 0 points. Anderson and Mukiele came into my team because Minter and Ekatike both missed out. They both got 3 and 4. To be honest, not too bad auto subs. Not so good considering some people got Rice off the bench for 17 points, but I would take 7 points from my auto subs. O'Reilly with 2. Cruel clean sheet wipeout from him. I think he was on 9 before Chelsea scored right at the end there. Ended up with 2. Foden with 2. Rodgers with 5. Rodgers was my move in this week for Wirtz. Wirtz scored an offside goal, got 10 points. Rodgers got 5. What can you do? Cunha with 9, not a bad little 9 points from him. Saka with 4. Saka didn't start either. Saka came on and got the assist. Haaland captain with 4. My best player on the bench was the only one that didn't come on, which was Kroupy Jr. at 5 points. 35 points. The last time we streamed, I was just over 600k. And I'm now 1.1 million. So it has been an awful Christmas break for me. I spoke a couple of weeks ago saying to Hibbo it was gutting that we tried to go for the Christmas tree formation and it didn't turn out that way because a few of our players missed out. This week, they decided to give me the Christmas tree formation in proper Christmas spirit. But unfortunately, it was not very Christmassy with the score. So, Heather says, salty much, Andy? Very salty. I'm about as salty as that ham joint I had over Christmas. Right, Nacho, let's talk through your points this week. 49, a little bit better.
Well, 49 is a bit deceiving because I did take a -4. So it actually was 49 -4 carried the 45 all in. So it was a very average week, to be honest with you. Now, in terms of the actual moves that I made, I don't think I could have done any better in terms of a -4. So I sold Virgil van Dijk, brought in Gabriel, and then I had to sell Semenyo in order to fund the move. And I ended up bringing in Bruno Guimaraes for that 10-pointer. Don't get me started on the defensive contributions because they took that away from me right at the death and it would have been a beautiful 12-pointer. But all in all, even though I took a -4 and it was a red arrow, I literally couldn't have done any more with this team in terms of the players that I brought in. So it was real good in terms of the point scoring. In terms of back to front, Rare with the 1-pointer. I need to sell him ASAP. O'Reilly, we spoke about it already. Again, my head will go if we talk about that late clean sheet wipeout. However, I am a Chelsea fan, so it wasn't all bad. Sorry, I'll cough a minute. Apologies. This flu has caught me up. Oh my God. Anderson with a 3-pointer, Gabriel with a 9, and then Dorgu with the 1. And then in terms of the midfielders, I had Lafi come on as my auto sub for the 4-pointer, which was quite delightful, to be honest. 1 away from the defensive contributions. Bruno G with the 10, Saka 4, Cunha 9, Foden 2. And of course, Ekatike missing out. So it was Haaland all on his own up top. All in all, 49 points, 45 with the -4. It's fine, but I wish I had one of those mega hauls like Rice, Chow, to name a few.
Yeah, there were quite a few hauls out there, weren't there? Also, it's interesting to see Rodon's had a bit of a change of appearance on your bench there. Hibbo, let's have a look at your points. 47 points for you this week. Yeah, there was a defender that got quite a few returns with no bonus for you, interestingly.
I can't be upset about that because he obviously did quite well. But yeah, so 47 net for me. And just to talk through the transfers first, so I used all 3. And it's going to sound a wee bit unconventional. So it was kind of target Gabriel. I kind of felt like the time was right to get him in. He's a player I was going to definitely buy eventually. He was obviously raising in price and has been raising the price at quite a rate. But like I do accept the clean sheet perspective, the fixtures weren't great. I felt like I had to do it. So I did basically Rodon, Monte, and Ekatike, the Gabriel, Szoboszlai, and Barnes. So basically what I've done is
Sorry.
there's shades of cartel, but people that pretend to be on the cartel aren't on the cartel is what I say about this. So I've effectively killed 2 of my strikers and I've gone to a hand system and I've got money in the bank. So basically the thinking was Ekatike was completely killing my flexibility. I couldn't have the nice defenders I wanted. I couldn't move to say Bruno or Palmer in the coming weeks. And it just so happened that when I transferred them out, they happened to be injured as well. So back to front for the podcast, people. So Raya, Virgil, and Alderete all got a point. Gabriel with a goal and Defcon Cons with a goal and assist. So they get 9 and 10 respectively. Midfield, Cunha with a goal and 9. Saka with an assist off the bench. Checky with Defcon. Szoboszlai and Foden with 2 each. And then Haaland with a cap and blank. And then similar to you, bench-wise, Crippy was second sub and he got the goal. Not too unhappy. I kind of feel I didn't really want to empty the tank on my free transfers. I spent a lot of transfers getting the Ekatike. I've used a lot now getting out of him. He's going to have Burnley in the coming weeks. But team-wise, I kind of felt like I need a bit of a reset to kind of try and regroup for the second half of the season. So, let's see.
Cherky turning into a DEFCON monster, by the way. He's done it 2 weeks in a row now, hasn't he?
He's done it 2 weeks in a row, and I do kind of think it bodes well and helps him a wee bit in terms of starts because he's in that one of those attacking positions for Man City, but he's doing the defensive work. Do you know that's always a kind of complaint of Pep that players don't track back and they don't make the tackles, whereas he's obviously doing that. So I'm hoping that's enough. Like predictors at the minute for Man City have him at 100% to start every week at the moment, which is strange. The Man City team has become very, very kind of predictable in many ways. I suppose famous last words because Checky and Foden will now be benched, but let's see.
Do you know what is interesting? Having had 2 game weeks since we've streamed last, I don't recognise either of your teams. Like I'm looking at both your teams and just thinking, when did you get these players? But it makes it more fun, I guess. Let's have a look at the XGI tables then from the last 6 game weeks. So these are at the moment we've actually got Ekatike at the top. So Ekatike is 4.22 XGI over the last 6 game weeks, and he's the only player above 4 XGI for the last 6. Watkins in second, who is just carrying on his renaissance. Everybody thought he was done, but he is really starting to rise now. Brooks in third. Would never have said Brooks was in third. 3.89 XGI. Sharda, Calvert-Lewin, and Mateus Cunha are third, fourth, fifth, and sixth, respectively. Cherky in seventh, with Enzo Fernandez also up there. Haaland is ninth, probably the lowest we've seen him this season. Ninth, 3.55 XGI. Anthony Gordon, Wirtz, Saka, Rogers, Foden, and Harry Wilson round off the table. Everybody on this table is above 3 XGI for the last 6 game weeks, but some interesting players up there, Nacho. And the first one I wanted to talk to you about is the player that's at the top, Ekatike. Obviously completely missed out this week. He's now got Arsenal away, but then he does have Burnley after that. If you're an Ekatike owner, Hibbo's already said he costs a lot of money. He hurts people's structures and he starts becoming a bit of an eyesore in your team. If you own him, what would you be doing with him right now?
Oh, it is a tough one right now because we all brought him in for this Wolves and Leeds back-to-back fixtures, and then the Fulham game was kind of just one of those where we were expecting minutes, but not necessarily a huge ceiling. And all he's come out of that is an assist, and that is it. Now, of course, the numbers have been good, and anyone that's watched Liverpool and Ekitike in particular, he's had some decent chances that he just hasn't converted, and it's just been a bit of a frustrating own for him. And I probably speak on behalf of everybody here that when we made the moves to bring in Ekitike, it felt like we were really squeezing everything out of our team. Like we were making some sacrifices in the rest of the team that didn't really feel right. And Hibbo is obviously in that situation now where he's come off Ekitike and probably has so many funds to invest in the midfield and defence, which we all know is exactly where the points are coming from. We've known that since game week 1, and it's continued through the first half of the season. So going into game week 21, let's just say the best case scenario happens and Ekitike is available. I'm not expecting anything against one of the best defences in the league, first and foremost. So we're very much keeping Ekitike simply for game week 22. Anyone who kids themselves that thinks Ekitike has the potential of doing amazing against Arsenal, I think is just kind of clutching at straws a little bit. So I'm an Ekitike owner, and I'm looking at it thinking, is there anybody who I really want to buy in the team? Well, Watkins' numbers are great, as we can see on the screen, 3.92 XGI per 90 in the last 6. But once again, sorry, not per 90, combined, apologies. But again, you are then committing to that price structure. And we're speaking about where the money's going to be in that midfield and defence. You're just having that same issue once again with Watkins. And I know Thiago scored a hat-trick in game week 20, but prior to that, we were all talking about how this guy can't hit a barn door. So very much short-term sort of view on things. But I think if you can sit tight on Ekitike for the next 2 game weeks, and then when the fixtures start to turn for certain teams, you use that money to invest elsewhere, I think that's probably the route that I plan on going to, and something that I probably recommend others doing. But end of the day, if you're done with Ekitike, then get him gone, because I don't expect anything in game week 21.
Yeah, I mean, you got rid of him last week, Hibbo Ekitike, and like you said, I suppose it was a bit of a fortunate move with the fact he got injured. But if you had him now, would you, and you wanted to get rid of him, if you thought, don't really fancy him against Arsenal, no idea whether he's going to play against Burnley, would you move him down to Thiago, considering he's not on this list, he's not in the top 15 for XGI, but he's just scored a hat-trick, or would you move him all the way down to, say, a Mane, who is doing very well, and he only cost 4.5 million for Wolves?
I think there's merit in both paths, and I think it depends how you're set up, really, because ultimately I had to make other moves. Like Rodon was effectively the weakest link for me in my 15. But I took Rodon up to the best defender in the game. Do you know what I mean? Monty obviously didn't make the squad against Brighton, so I had kind of big issues that I felt like I had to fix, and I had the free transfer balance. Now, I think if people have a decent FT balance, like if you had something kind of 3 or upwards, and you could take them out and redistribute the funds, it's not something that I'm against. And I do think taking them the whole way down looks unconventional. Like you look at my team and you kind of think, like, what are you doing here? Because if Haaland misses out, you effectively aren't playing with a forward, although Krippy could get a point. There's always that risk with that. But I think exactly what Nacho has said. Like, we're looking, and I know you'll touch on Man United because they're very topical after today, but Bruno's somebody we like. We might like him even more in the future. He's going to have to come back and potentially into our teams. Palmer's somebody, like, if we look at, there's a 4 game week block for Chelsea, and about 2 or 3 game weeks time, it's the best fixture run of the season. People are going to want to buy Palmer. And those other kind of defenders, like, we're looking at Senesi's, Andersons, they're kind of cheap versions, but you've got Tumber, you've got Gabriel, Virgil, maybe not so much. But there's lots of points in kind of defence and midfield, and you've touched upon that. And I feel at the moment that the points are less likely up front. And I'm just kind of wondering, do I play kind of optimal ball, for want of a better word, give me money on the defence and midfield and try and really change things? And I think people could do worse and maybe look at, say, Haaland, Mane, Krippy as a 3. Yeah. It could work.
It could work. I mean, do you fancy it at all, Nacho? If you wildcarded this week, is that how you would be doing it? Would it be Thiago as your second striker? Would you be going just Haaland to then, like you said, put more money into midfield and defence? Because that's definitely the positions that are hauling at the moment. It's not those strikers apart from a Thiago hat-trick this week.
Yeah, I do agree. Like I said, I think the forwards are the just not the value play right now. But there is just something about almost having a Haaland, Mane, Krupi front three that just is a little bit scary for me. I just think you are going to need those occasions where there is going to be a forward who does become a bit hot. We never know with the teams coming up whether it will be one that emerges, and you kind of are pot committed then that you are just fully invested in the midfielders. But we've got 20 game weeks worth of information right now, and it's very clear that the midfielders are still the place to put your money alongside the defenders. So while there are going to be spells, there always will be where 3 or 4 game week chunks where a certain forward might go off. Unless you hit that forward, then I kind of agree. A cheap front line alongside Haaland isn't the worst play in the world. But for me, I always like having a bit more flexibility. So I will probably always have a second mid-price forward alongside Haaland, with that third spot being a dead spot, really.
Yeah, and I mean, I was going to bring up the CBIT table as well, so we've got it up here. So we've got Senesi at the top with Tarkovsky hitting their DEFCON 83% of the time in the last 6 game weeks. We've got, God, you know what? I don't actually know how to say his name. I say it every time. The Fulham centre-back that plays next to Anderson, Suenka? I even watched him play. Yeah, I even watched him play the other day, and I tried 2 or 3 times to listen to how to say it, and I'm still terrible. And then we got Fofana, who's also at 75%. Anderson, Chalobah, Collins, Heaven, Humphreys, Milinkovic, Richards, Struijk, Vandenberg, all on 67%, with Ayer and Keane, who are on 60%. Now, I don't often do this, but I will do it now. Gabriel isn't on this list, obviously, top 15, mainly because I'm assuming he hasn't played enough. Obviously, he's only played the last 2. Now, I didn't get Gabriel Hibbo because I wasn't expecting clean sheets in the last 2 games. They didn't get clean sheets in the last 2 games. He did because he went off before they conceded in the first game, and in the second game, obviously, they conceded. But he got 2 goals. In the last 3 seasons, he's only scored 3 goals. So he scored 3 goals 3 seasons ago. 2 seasons ago, he did the same. And he's only scored 3 goals each time. He scored 2 in the last 2 game weeks. He's going up again tonight. 6.7 million he's going to cost after today, most likely. How essential is getting Gabriel? Because I saw people last week taking hits to do Timber to Gabriel. I thought that was mental. I'm not going to lie. I thought I was absolutely crazy to do a hit to go from Timber to Gabriel. Obviously, that paid off. I wasn't expecting him to score. I know, I saw the narrative about, he's playing against teams that like conceding goals, but predicting centre-back goals is so hard. How essential is he to get into your team? At what point do we look at it and go, he's just too expensive now?
I think he's just essential full stop. Like, I think if we look at the immediate fixture against Liverpool, traditionally and historically, we'll look at that game and think, like, we don't really expect Arsenal to keep a clean sheet. Things are maybe different at the moment, because Liverpool have struggled against the kind of relegation or the recently promoted teams in recent weeks. And I wouldn't really be that surprised if Arsenal went out and did 1-0 to the Arsenal and kept a clean sheet and beat Liverpool kind of quite convincingly. Now, I do take your point, and people taking a hit last week, there needs to be context. I think it's important to have kind of context for that, because on the face of it, -4 for a defender seems a bit crazy. But I think it depends on everybody's individual teams and their circumstances. Like, if they could make that move that week, but they were effectively going to be priced out in 2 or 3 weeks' time, then that makes sense to me. Do you know what I mean? So, I do think everybody was in a position, or most people were in a position where they were looking at Gabriel. They were thinking, will I buy him now, or will I buy him in 3 weeks' time or 4 weeks' time? I'm going to buy him. Do you know? And he has been so reliable, and we can look at it and say, we didn't potentially really fancy the clean sheet, and the clean sheets didn't happen. But there's more to him than clean sheets. We're looking at him this season, and he's got DEFCON. We're looking at him. He's getting kind of cheesy assists. He's scoring goals, and he's just he's looking like some kind of prime Ivanovic. I don't know what he is, but he's scoring points at a ridiculous rate at the moment. I think everybody just thinks, you look at Haaland, grand, but he's the best value asset in the game, isn't he?
But what? The chances of getting Gabriel in the last 2 weeks, we weren't even sure he was going to play 2 weeks ago. No. He played, got a clean sheet because he went off before the clean sheet got taken, got a goal, 15 points was it he got, and then 9 points this week as well. You've got to agree. There's some ridiculous positive variance there, isn't there?
there's massive, huge luck, but there's been loads of kind of weird stuff happening this season. Like, look at Rice in the week gone by.
Well,
Like, it
gamey as
sounded as
well.
if Rice was going to be out for 3 games, and people actually played him in FPL. Like, that's to me, that's a bad decision. But people did that, like, why did they do that? I don't know. Like, you could say the same about the Gabriel stuff. People taking hits to get there. Clean sheet prospects didn't look particularly good, and it didn't happen, but he still got this mad plus positive variance. Like, it's all true, but I just think ultimately with Gabriel, everybody was looking at him thinking, we're going back there. Like, do we want to go back there at 6.3 or 6.4? Do we want to go back there at 6.8? It's a big difference, and
So what's changed? Because 2 weeks ago you said it was too early. When we were talking about Gabriel, we all said it seems too early.
You said it was too early.
We all did. We all said it's too early to get Gabriel in. And now, because obviously he scored 2 goals, it's not too early.
I think, like, when we talked about this, say, like, the last time we put it, my general impression was that I didn't necessarily think he was going to start that game.
Yeah.
That's why I kind of felt it was too early. But, like, now he's starting, he's playing, like, he's scoring goals. Like, like, goals are a factor. Like, I don't think we can just look at Gabriel and say, oh, there's no clean sheets or whatever. Like, there's so much more to him at the minute. He's just become a central part of what they do, like him and Rice, like, in terms of set pieces. So, no, I think it was just more or less a case of everybody looking at their budgets thinking, can I buy him now? Yes. Can I buy him in 2-3 weeks' time? Maybe not. Yeah. So, at Unpacking Future Moves was probably the reason most people just went, look, even if it takes -4, I'm doing it.
And that first
loads of luck, but
that first week Rice didn't even play, so he didn't have the deliveries, and it wasn't from a corner, was it? It was a random kind of just drop to him in the box. But we're talking there about Arsenal assets, Nacho. We spoke about Gabriel. I think everybody agrees if you had a wild card this week, Gabriel would be in your team. Saka, not in the top 15. Oh, yes, he is. He's 12th at the moment, in terms of XGI over the last 6. Didn't start midweek. Whenever they've got 3 games in a week, there's always one he misses. That seems to be how it goes. People have paid an awful lot of money to have Saka either as well as Rice or instead of Rice. As you've said earlier, we've got 20 game weeks of data now. Do we cut our losses and say, you should be doing Saka to Rice? Or when should we be doing that? Because every time I look at Saka in my team, I think, I can't do it this week. He's got Liverpool this week, and I'm thinking, they're weak on that side. He could definitely get some joy. But Rice is just killing it every single week. When do you cut your losses?
Yeah, I think that is exactly what managers need to think about. I think we're in a position right now where if we were to build a wild card, I would be really surprised if anybody builds a wild card right now and it doesn't include Declan Rice, just because of the value that he's at right now at 7.1 million. And the big thing about him is that when we talk about Gabriel previously, and we're talking about how essential he is, of course it is just massively lucky that the moment everyone brings him in, as part of a -4, he scores. But whenever I look at players, how can they get points? Well, Gabriel's a perfect example of set-piece threat, defensive contributions, bonus points, best defence in the league. And when we look at Declan Rice, he's obviously playing a bit more advanced. Now, let's not get ahead of ourselves right now. He scored a brace in game week 20, and that's half of his goals for this season. Prior to that, 2 goals in 19 games. I'm not looking at that thinking this guy is absolutely killing it. So I do think with Declan Rice, we're not looking at a guy who is going to get, 15 goals this season. However, will he hit DEFCON regularly? I think he averages about 11 DEFCON per 90. Is he playing in an Arsenal team where he's guaranteed 90 minutes? Yes. So I think for me, it very much comes down to a case of, do you need the funds to invest elsewhere? Because like you said, going into this week against Liverpool, who would I personally rather have, Saka or Rice? I still would rather have Saka. And I'm in a position right now, like many managers, where I need to sell Saka to Rice to then use the funds to invest elsewhere in the team. For me, game week 21 isn't that week. However, in game week 22, 23 onwards, we might have people come available like Bruno Fernandes, like Cole Palmer. That's going to change the structure of our team. So I think we hold Saka as a placeholder until another premium midfielder emerges, like the ones I mentioned. Then you move to Rice if you don't own already. And then honestly, I think that becomes a set and forget in your team, because whereas Declan Rice is just going to tick over really nicely, I just think you've got to hold him for the rest of the season, because you'll get your average 4s, your 5-pointers, and then you'll pick up that 8-9-pointer when he gets the set piece assists. So I don't think you need to move this week for anyone considering. I wouldn't be selling Saka to Rice personally, but there will be a moment in a couple of weeks where Saka, you look at him and think, that could be Cole Palmer, that could be Bruno, then I think you make the move.
What do you think, Hibbo? Because we saw two of the best managers, that play this game in FPL, Harry and Praz, both did the Timber to Gabriel move for a hit. We've seen people doing Saka to Rice and getting absolute dividends out of it. Do you think this is the year to kind of go, nah, I'm not gonna be patient. I'm going to act, because it does seem to be working for people when they do it.
I don't know. It's a wee bit of an open question.
Very open.
I think we've had this debate throughout the season about essentially who's the best Arsenal trio, and I think earlier in the season our kind of opinions on it kind of changed. People liked Raya and Gabriel. Some people like kind of Gabriel and Timber as a back two. Then the big conversation kind of obviously centered around Rice and Saka. Now, we do have a fair bit of data, and we do have a fair bit of information, and lots of it I think is going to be based on their actual returns, because if we look at their XGI, non-paying XGI, I think Saka's 8.73 over the season and Rice is 5.88. So on that basis, we would expect Saka to be doing much better than what he is. But there's been recent kind of developments in the fact that he doesn't really have full penalties. There's also this scenario where now they've got a wee bit more squad depth. So they've got Madueke in reserve, whereas Arsenal didn't really have that strength before. So the whole factor that you talked about when they play 3 games in a week, there seems to be a pattern that potentially he doesn't play one of those. We've seen this coming into play, and that's a bit of a risk and a threat. He has minutes. That was never really the case before. So I think if I was wildcarding now, I wouldn't have Saka. The debate for me would be whether I go triple Arsenal defence or whether I would go double Arsenal defence, probably Timber and Gabriel and Rice in midfield. But in the position I am now where I own Saka, would I sell him? Definitely not. I'm looking at the kind of immediate fixtures. I'm looking at my free transfer balance, and I think these are all important factors too. And I'm thinking, well, look, in the coming weeks, I might want Bruno. In the coming weeks, I might want Palmer. There's different things I'm going to want to do with my team. I think there's also an outside chance that Arsenal could double in 26. Yeah. So they could blank for the League Cup and 30. They could blank for the League Cup, which is either 30 or 31. I think it might double for Arsenal, and say they're the only big hitting team in that week. It could be complete positional snobbery. I've seen this FPL nightmare guy coining this phrase where he basically said, the only reason it's holding us back in kind of Saka Rice is positional snobbery, because Rice is effectively an 8 and we don't think that way as FPL players. And there's a certain amount of that's true. But if I'm thinking about a potential double game week in 26, I won't have a captaincy option. So for me, I definitely wouldn't sell him between now and then, because if that materializes, he's going to be the top ranking captain for that week, and I want to have him. So
no, fair. I mean, when we look at the actual predictions for this week, Arsenal obviously have a tougher fixture. They're still projected to win, 56% chance of a win, 1.80 goals expected with 37% chance of a clean sheet. Brentford are also 56% against Sunderland. Bournemouth expected to beat Spurs convincingly. Then we've got Manchester United, who now obviously going to have Darren Fletcher in charge. 55% chance of a win against Burnley. 1.77 goals expected with 37% chance for clean sheet. The big game in terms of heavy favourites are City against Brighton. Obviously a disappointing 1-1 against Chelsea. 2.29 goals expected. I think a Haaland week is what we're expecting, but he has had 3 blanks in a row now. And then we've got Newcastle at 58% chance of a win against Leeds. Now, Nacho, 3 blanks in a row for Haaland. Extremely disappointing, considering at least 2 of those you'd be thinking Haaland is easily the most captainable. He's got Brighton this week. They're expected to get the most goals this week in terms of predictions from 11ify here. Does it change your thinking a little bit, especially after having maybe 2 weeks where you weren't performing exactly how you wanted to in FPL? Is that the kind of time where you think you should twist, or do you just ignore that?
Yeah, this is the thing really, isn't it, with captaincy, where when you do have a couple of blanks on a player like Erling Haaland and your rank, like mine, has been tumbling a little bit, you do kind of look at it and think, maybe this is the opportunity for me to be a bit different. And this is why these sort of match predictions, these kind of sort of things are really helpful for us to take a step back, see what the actual market and all are thinking is going to happen in each particular game. And
I've just put it up for you.
Oh, is that there? Thank you, mate. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think the big thing for me right now, of course, is that if we're in a position right now where you're looking to take on Erling Haaland, then the first question has to be, well, cool, that's absolutely fine, but who is the person that you're going to, and can you trust that player that you are going towards? Like we spoke about how, firstly, someone like Bukayo Saka isn't offering amazing FPL value right now, and we don't even know if he's on penalties. So straight away, you can't really look at an Arsenal player and say confidently that that could be your potential alternative captain. And then we look at the other available options for us. Man United, obviously, we've got Bruno Fernandes and Cunha projected for goals alongside Haaland and Saka in the top four. But again, with the manager change there, we have no idea what's going to be happening here. So I know people are frustrated with Haaland. I know you might want to chase the upside, but for me, the numbers haven't been fantastic, but they're still steady. And I just feel like personally, Haaland is the outstanding captain this week. 2.29 projected goals in that particular game. And I never look at Brighton necessarily and think that they are a team that are going to, shut up shop against City and put up a real big defensive performance. So Haaland will be my captain. I personally don't see anybody who I could confidently put as an alternative captain.
Well, let's talk about Man United then, Hibbo, because Man United now have an interim manager at the moment in Darren Fletcher. I'm assuming he's not going to be playing both of his sons in the next game, because obviously I think they're both 4.5 million, which should be interesting. But 55% chance for winning this game. Burnley, obviously we've seen all season, do struggle. When we're looking at Man United now, are the shackles going to be off? Amarim's now gone, not playing that formation. I did a little bit of homework before we came on here. In the 6 months when Darren Fletcher was the under-18s coach, he loved playing four at the back, attacking wing-backs, three in the middle with a 10 player, which could be Bruno. Bruno is basically back on grass and begging to be playing, so it could be that he's back against Burnley. Mount looks like he could be back. Mainu is in light training, but I doubt he's back for that one. Is this now, if you've got your Man United players in your team, you could maybe have a bit more confidence in them?
I think you could definitely have a wee bit more confidence in them. And I think, we see this with United when they sack a manager and they kind of dip back into the kind of class of 92 boys and stuff like that, but there was...
Give it Giggsy.
Get a gig. I blow the dust off gigs, but you can't do that anymore, obviously. But no, I think we're looking at United, and I think the fans, there was a bit of pressure, I think, at board level for Amarim to change the formation. I think the fans wanted him to change the formation, and it wasn't really happening. And we're looking at the last couple of games. Like, say the people who went out and bought Dorgu. Dorgu looked amazing when he was playing in that right wing position. And then he effectively neutered him in the next game. He went back to the previous old formation, and then he had total head loss afterwards in the press conference. So I think the shackles will be off. I do think, like, complete rose tinted glasses. I'd love to see Bruno in the 10, because like all the good things we say about Bruno, his creativity, his pens, his set pieces, his DEFCON potential, I think once you then put him in the 10 as opposed to put him in the 8, where he's going to have a bit of defensive covering duties in the midfield, I think it completely changes the dynamic, and I think he could go really, really, really big. But we're kind of linking the United conversation with captaincy. I wouldn't do it. I would be happy enough this week if you had Dorgu, you play him. If you have Cunha this week, you play him. There could be a decision for managers about whether they get back on Bruno, because if Bruno's in team training and he's pictured in team training, will Fletcher put him on the bench in a game that he has to win? When we've looked at United in the last few weeks, and the team has looked stretched. Bumo's away, Amarim's away, Bruno's obviously been out of the team. His sons have been playing themselves. Like, the team's starting to look a wee bit stretched out. So, like, first game, you kind of want to get a one under your belt. I think if Bruno is anyway fit, he plays.
And I don't think this is the time to get on him personally. When you've got, game week 22 City, game week 23's Arsenal away, which is arguably the hardest fixture that they're going to have this season. Game week 24, Fulham at home, then Spurs at home. That could be a nice time to get on. I mean, the other thing is as well, I suppose, Tuesday night is just the one game, which is West Ham Forest. We're going to have nothing, are we? No real information about what's going on. So with that being the only game in the deadline, I think it's a tough one, because most games are on Wednesday, aren't they? But yeah, it's going to be an interesting one this week. I mean, when we're looking at the fixtures, by the way, I've just brought these up here for attack and defence. City are comfortably top for attack projected over the next 6 game weeks. Arsenal in second, Chelsea in third. We haven't mentioned Chelsea, Nacho, because your boy Enzo Fernandez is starting to come back into form, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, it's really been kind of like a up and down season for him, because I think we all saw a little bit of the goal scoring of last season, and then this season at the first half of the first half, kind of in everybody's teams, and then all of a sudden playing a little bit deeper or not converting the chances that he previously was. Everybody wrote him off, and now look at him at the back post against Man City, doing kind of what we expect, those late runs. And now, with, as we know, it is going to be Liam Rosenior, McFarlane's going to do the Fulham game we know, and then Rosenior is going to take over from game week 22 onwards. So we're kind of guessing right now exactly what that is going to entail. I don't really know too much about Rosenior's time at Strasbourg, but it does sound like he does quick, short build-ups with his two centre mids, which would probably be Enzo and Caicedo. But I want to put out there that what we saw was actually Santos have a brilliant time over there as well. So we do need to consider that as well for the midfield options and how that's going to be for Andre Santos. I think he will get some game time in that midfield. Enzo for me is a wait and see. It's a perfect example right now with Chelsea. The fixtures are fantastic. Fulham away is the one that you wait and see exactly what's going to happen. Brentford at home in game week 22, and then after the Palace game in 23, we've got West Ham, Wolves, Leeds, and Burnley. I think you let the next three fixtures slide, get an understanding of exactly what that Chelsea team's going to look like, because who knows, in game week 24, we might see a bit of a preference towards someone like a Delap. And just to remind everybody, 6.2 million as a forward. He ain't great, but if we are looking at a bit more of a hold-up man up front, he could be possibly a great enabler. So my advice to people considering Chelsea is wait and see until game week 24, and then I think we could be in a position with some free transfers to invest in the right assets rather than playing the guessing game.
And remember, fair play, Rosenior's done incredibly well to lead Strasbourg to 7th in a terrible French league. So let's have a look at the
cooked.
Wow.
We're cooked.
Let's have a, honestly, you might as well put me in charge. Let's have a look at the com teams then, because one com team absolutely smashed it with some of their points this week. The other team, varying degree of success. Talk us through it, Nacho.
Yeah, this is getting bad, the league now. I think this was always my favourite part of the pod, kind of going over to the com team league, because I was always leading the way. But yeah, this is not good right now. So just a bit of context in terms of the standings. We've got the new com team currently very comfortably first on 1,244 points. I'm second on 1,203. So 41 points clear. And that is because of their game week 20. They had 78 points. They made one transfer, and that was doing the Virgil van Dijk to Gabriel move, which if you had a free transfer, that was probably the easiest transfer you're going to make all season. And just to read out some of the hauls that they had in this team, I mean, Verbruggen with the clean sheet, Chow with that 17-pointer. I mean, anybody that had Chow that week, that was probably a very unlikely hero for your teams. They had him. Gabriel with the 9-pointer, and Declan Rice as well. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen two 17-pointers in one team like this. To have one would be amazing. To have two is kind of a huge game week. And I'm just looking right now in terms of their overall rank. That week in particular has jumped them from 83k to 22k. So anybody in a bad rank right now, just know you need one big haul like that, and your rank can obviously skyrocket. We'll never get that on here, but congrats to the new com team. In terms of the old com team, took a -4, O'Reilly to Gabriel, and Semenyo to Paqueta, which I was very interested about that move, because we knew that Paqueta was a potential doubt for that week. So that really did backfire in the sense of the Paqueta move, but obviously Gabriel coming in for the score. 46 points for them. Really no big returns apart from Gabriel, Cunha, and Wilson. So yeah, it's not looking great right now in the league, but we will try our best and endeavour not to lose this league once more.
You watch me rise up. You watch me rise up for 1.1 million.
Back.
I ain't singing this year, boys. Don't you worry. Can I just give a bit of a shout out to the new com team as well? Because I'm in the chat with them. Not where they make all their decisions, but I'm in the chat with them. And they were 4th at one point, I think, in this league, and they have risen up unbelievably well over the last couple of weeks. So fair play to the people that are in the new com team. And I know you'll be jumping in the chat at the moment going, oh yeah, no, we're better than you, Andy. No, fair play. You're absolutely smashing it at the moment. Fair play to all of you. Like you said, 17 from Chow and 17 from Rice.
Crazy.
They almost outscored me with just those two players.
Hey.
Let's have a look at. It's not even a joke. They were 1 point away from me with those two players. Let's have a look then and see how we are lining up for this week. So I've got one free transfer, 0.9 in the bank. I've got Raya in goal. I've got Dorgu, O'Reilly, Anderson, and Keane at the back. Not liking what I'm hearing from Everton fans. They are not very happy with Keane at the moment. So with the impending Branthwaite coming back, I think Keane's days are very much numbered. I think game week 22 or 23, people are suggesting he could be out by then. I've got Saka, Foden, Rodgers and Cunha in the middle with Haaland and Ekitike up top with Minter, Mukiele and Krupi Jr. on the bench. Now, I want to roll. I want to roll. I want to get some free transfers. I want to try and make some moves the week after with an extra week's worth of information. Even though I don't like my team and I'm struggling at the moment, I feel like getting free transfers and be able to make moves next week for free is the way to go. I don't feel like there's massively anybody I really need this week. I don't feel like getting Gabriel is a necessity this week, especially because it would be for a hit. I can't do Minter to Rice, which would have been quite nice, but I can't do that either because I'm a little bit too short of money. So without taking a hit, I can't get to anybody I really desperately need. So I think I'm just going to roll and just let the tide take me, basically, and just see where I end up. So yeah, it's not looking good, bruv. I'm pretty sure that's what the young'uns say. Nacho, talk us through yours, because you got Enzo Lafie in the middle. You're fine.
Lafie, man, honestly, the guy who, it's just the player that I look at my team every single week and think, how the bloody hell have you ended up in my team? I've never seen you play, let alone buy you in my team. But anyway, that's enough rambling here. So just a bit of context. I've got one free transfer, 0.1 million in the bank. I'll just go through the team and then kind of a few thoughts. So I've got the horror show of Rare between the sticks, just eating up so much budget right now. And I'm talking about how eventually this double Arsenal clean sheet will come in, praying it will come in for this Liverpool game. So Raya and Gabriel as my Arsenal defence. O'Reilly, who now looks like an absolute lock for minutes, but the problem is with Vardy out and Diaz, it looks like Vardy's going to be out for a significant time now with an injury to his leg. Diaz a bit longer as well. So even though it's great for his minutes, not really good for the clean sheet odds there. Dorgu away against Burnley, I have absolutely no idea whether he's just going to get chopped from this team or not, really. I'm just hoping for one more game from him. That was always the plan. Get him in for the 3 games and then he can rot on my bench for the foreseeable future. Midfield 5 of Foden, Lafie, Saka, Cunha and Bruno Guimaraes. Again, bought Bruno in for these 3 games. He's a monster at home and like the Leeds game that he particularly has. And then front 2 of Haaland and Ekitike. First sub Anderson, Fulham's Anderson, Richards and then Mark Gui. So for me, I've just been waiting for the opportunity to get a couple of transfers in the bank because my team is just not where I want it right now. So I want to roll the transfer, have Ekitike for game week 22 and ideally roll again so that once we get to game week 23, where the fixtures start to turn for certain teams, then I can start to put the money and the transfers to exactly where I want to go.
Yeah, it seems like you're in the same position as me, but obviously you got Saka there. Just doesn't seem good to make that move this week, does it? But Hibbo, talking us through your team, my man, because like I said, it's so interesting. We've got so many differences in all of our teams now, and you're playing a 4-5-1 formation there with a lovely Hungarian in the middle.
We drop a goulash, but anyway. So this is me. So I've got 1.9 million in the bank and I've got 1 AFT because I've used a lot recently. So the rough intention at the moment is they roll. So I've obviously got a lot of players playing the Arsenal Liverpool game, but all good managers have Arsenal players. Do you know what I mean? Like there's a reason why people have Liverpool players as well, given the recent fixtures and the Burnley game coming up. So I don't think that's a reason to panic for 1 week. I think you just kind of write it off and you just keep them anyway. So 1 AFT, I'll just go back to front for the podcast people. So we've got Ray and goal, Virgil, Nathan Collins, Alderete, and Gabriel at the back. And then in midfield, they've got Szoboszlai, Cunha, Cherky, Foden, and Saka. And then up front, Hans, the boss team captain. So I've obviously kind of done a bit of restructuring last week. I still feel okay about it. And my idea basically now going ahead is to increase that free transfer account as much as I possibly can because we've talked about it, I think, at length here. We're going to see potentially Palmer in a couple of weeks' time. Bruno maybe is going to come on to play like once the kind of more kind of difficult fixtures pass. they're going to put the hands up, and I need money to get to those guys. So like I would then have an option, for example, of going from like Foden up to somebody very expensive like Palmer, or going from Szoboszlai up, or improving the defence is also a prospect for me in the coming weeks, because I'm going to have to predominantly play a 4 and a 5, and I don't think I can get away with this defence. But I think slowly but surely, build the FT balance, see what happens this week. But I think Haaland's just a lock as captain as well.
Yeah, nice. Right, let's have a look at a bit of a Q&A now then. So if you're in the chat, chuck us your questions. Just while everybody's getting their questions in, I've got a question for both boys. Nacho, I've got a friend who has really been struggling recently in FPL. He's doubled his rank over the last 2 game weeks. He finds himself outside of the top 1 million. He's now got 3 chips and a wild card to use. Should he be wildcarding?
Should he wildcarding? Wow. God, I hope that guy's not a host on anything. Christ almighty, imagine that.
No, he does need some love. He needs some cuddles and things because he's struggling a bit. But it's fine. I'll talk to him. You don't know him.
What I want to tell this manager is this: he is a handsome devil. This man, I can tell he's a handsome devil, and I'm going to tell him right now that good times are coming, and you don't need a wild card for the good times to come. Keep them in your back pocket and rise like the phoenix, like I know you can. Sorry, this person can, not you. Sorry, it's obviously not you.
I'll tell him. Hibbo, would you wild card, or is it better to use it later on?
We're obviously talking about you here. So would I wildcard a team now? In most cases, categorically, no. Do you know? Because I just think there's people are getting a wildcard and they're thinking, what am I going to do? I'm going to move around my Arsenal trio. I'm going to do, we're changing our mind from week to week about what the best strategy is, but ultimately that wildcard combined with the 3 chips, combined with double game weeks, combined with blank game weeks is how you rise in the latter half of the season. We don't know what the blanks are. We don't know what the doubles are going to be. So I think it would just be completely premature. I think people at wildcard might see an instant boost. They might feel good about themselves. But whenever it comes to navigating that mid to end game of the season, they're going to be so far behind the curve without a wildcard, I think.
Yeah,
don't do it.
Wrong.
And you are very handsome, and you've got a lot of other good stuff going on. You've got a good job, you've got a very nice girlfriend and stuff like that. So
this sounds like an intervention, right? Everybody around you loves you, Andy. FPL Vinya says, will Semenyo play, Nacho? He's got to be quite quick, so we've got a few to go through and we've got some time.
I have absolutely no idea, but I would keep him and hope for the best, otherwise sack him off. I
think he will. Yeah.
Yeah?
Okay. Yeah. Glenn Fiddich says, FOTMob calls that Ekitike is out until February. I haven't heard that.
I'm not sure how reliable FOTMob is sometimes with this kind of stuff. I think the chances he's going to potentially miss this game.
Yeah.
But he could be back for Burnley.
Yeah. Hibbo Fashionat says, do I do Ekitike to Watkins for a hit?
Definitely not.
Yeah. William Johnson says, do I do Szoboszlai to Enzo, Nacho?
I would probably wait and see for now. I wouldn't rush that move just yet.
FPL Vinya says, do I do Virgil van Dijk to Chalobah or Gabriel, Hibbo?
Get the Burnley fixture out of Virgil. We're waiting for this bullet header, and if it comes in Burnley and people have sold him, then you're just going to cry. If that's a week he gets a 17-pointer, you'll cry. So I'm just staying on Virgil until that point in time, and then I'll come off. So do the same.
Snake O Senna says, is Raya and Szoboszlai to cheap keeper and Rice worth it this week, or do I wait until after 22, Nacho? You've already said you want Raya gone. Would you do it if you had the free transfers?
I want Raya gone, but again, I just don't know if that's a great use of 2 transfers personally. I would just sit tight for now.
Yeah. Trigger Talk says, is Szoboszlai a proper FPL pick, or is he just an algo outlier, Hibbo?
Oh, he directed that one at me. I think it's mostly the fact that he takes a lot of set pieces, and I think in the very short term, we expect him to be on penalties. He's taking a penalty, so that is really it, combined with the fixtures. And I think it was a short-term play that once Burnley passes, once Salah comes back from AFCON, I think people are going to jump off. But it's one of these, if Szoboszlai does the points, people say he's a good pick. If he doesn't do the points, people say he's a shit algo pick. Do you know what I mean? You can't really win there, but he hasn't been great, but it's basically set pieces, I think.
Salah's through to the quarterfinals, so he's not coming back anytime soon.
Yes.
Tom Minter, is Reece James still a troll, Nacho?
No, he's not a troll. He's playing fantastic. But is he an FPL option? No, he's not. No.
He is playing so well. Like, genuinely, he is such a good player. He's playing like midfield all the time, and he's so good. Let's have a look. J77 Lag, tell your friend he's still doing better than 9 million people. Thank you. Yes, I will tell him. Attaboy, hi. I seem to have woken up on this train called Crystal Palace Defenders. Did you all get off somewhere, or are you still on? What do you think, Hibbo? Crystal Palace Defenders. Still hitting DEFCON?
Still hitting DEFCON, but I think we've talked about this recently where the fixtures have kind of turned a bit, but they're also kind of been run under the ground a wee bit from a kind of congestion point of view in terms of the schedule. So there was better options. So like Munoz, people moved off him with the injury and stuff like that. So I don't know anybody that owns Gahey, but apparently people do. Do you know?
There was like 30% owned at one point, wasn't
I
it?
know, and I don't know anybody's team that has him. You know, it must just be like casuals, boys sitting at the fucking lunch table and work picking Gahey, and you're like, what are you doing?
You can tell you've had a snow day. You haven't seen anybody for a while, have you? Just CH says, sending cuddles to your handsome but struggling friend mode. Thank you very much. You'll appreciate that, I'm sure. Glenn Fiddich says, what do I do with Paquetá, Nacho?
So they're the Tuesday game. So you might get some news regarding him. And end of the day, if you do get the Forest game, I know West Ham are woeful, but I think you probably could just play him if we do get positive news that he's available. If not, I'm going to be honest, I don't really know the price point of Paquetá myself. So knowing a good replacement off the top of my head, I'm not too sure.
No, that's fair. And last one, and it's from Frostbolter. And unfortunately, Hibbo, I'm going to aim this one at Nacho because he owns one of the players. Why has no one been talking about Bruno Guimaraes and Gravenberch in the last few weeks? Bruno Guimaraes, Nacho, obviously he's very, very good at home. They've got Leeds, Wolves, Aston Villa, Liverpool, and then Brentford. They've got 3 home games in the next 5. Bruno G, he's outperforming Gordon every week, isn't he?
Yeah. I had a look at Bruno G. I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't actually love him as a pick. It was just an enabler for me to get Gabriel for 3 game weeks. Leeds coming up next, Wolves afterwards, but very much a short-term pick for myself because after that, I don't really think it is a long-term play in your team. So I would almost say you haven't missed the boat, but I think the entry point was last week just to get these 3 fixtures in particular.
Yeah, and Hibbo, I feel bad for not giving you another question. So there was somebody in the chat somewhere, and I can't see where it is. Sorry, whoever it was, saying about Minter. What to do with Minter if you still own him?
I think most people jumped off him like recently. Like he's kind of flattered to deceive as an FPL option. We were picking him, and I think loads of people in their head subconsciously were saying West Ham, Burnley, depart, jump off. So I think if you haven't done it now, I think he's probably a fully legitimate sell. We like the Man City game, and I think long term, just he's done basically.
Yeah. Right, lovely stuff. Thank you so much for everybody for joining us this evening. I think we topped up at about 550 people, which is absolutely lovely on a Monday evening. Thank you for all those people that watch live. Thank you for all those people that listen on the pod, and also all those people that watch the stream after we finish recording, because we love each and every one of you. Hibbo, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Surely next week it's going to be 3 green arrows.
I hope next week's going to be 3 green arrows, but you touched on the fact that I had a snow day today. There's actually a snow day here tomorrow. So, like, spare a thought for me. Like, I know we're talking about your fictional friend who's struggling in the game and stuff like that, but spare a thought for me, because I thought that the Christmas holidays were over. I thought my children were going back to school, but I've had to spend full Monday and Tuesday with them, which is great.
Damn.
Your poor kids. Your poor kids. If you had a green arrow, it would have been lovely. Oh, sorry, poor you. Nacho, you're obviously the bringer of green arrows. Say something to make us positive we're going to get them next week, please.
Let's just say this. 3 green arrows are coming. So anybody tuning in right now, you're about to see a redemption arc like no other. Mode will be in the top 1 mil. I'll be in the top 150. And Hibbo will be in the top 350k. And again, Andy, send your love to your friend as well, mate. He has my number, obviously, if he needs to chat to me.
Ring some Martins.
I've got. By the way, before we go, Frostbolt is in the chat saying hello from Melbourne, 9 a.m. here.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah,
Lovely
good
job,
day.
mate.
Good day.
Throw
Right.
another shrimp on the barbie.
That was an awful accent. What was that? Hungarian? Was that a Zoboslai accent? My God. Sounded like some East European bad guy from a Liam Neeson film, that did. Right. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. We hope your arrows are green, and hopefully my friend gets a bit happier as the weeks go on. Thank you so much, and we'll see you all again next week. Bye-bye.